due east, like towards Barbados, at like 25 miles, and it was rolling. We thought it was rough as shit in the 52. And there's a single dude in like a 20-foot pango watching us with that big marlin, telling us to kill it. He wanted it. He was going to be the man that night. But yeah, I wanted to kill him, but Mr. A at the end was like, we're not bringing that buck thing in here. And I was like, all right, probably a good idea. What are we going to do with it anyways?
And how did it start out? Like, what was the origin story?
Too much alcohol.
Really? Okay.
Says if God wanted us to have fiberglass boats, he would have given us fiberglass trees.
It's for fishermen. It's not for taking the wife and the wife's friends.
I think that it's a really, really pretty boat.
And then there was a blur that went by and ended up in the cockpit, as far as if I can remember correctly.
Welcome back, State of Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm Nick Carullo. I'm joined with my co-host Anthony Pino with Hooked Optics and captain of the Blood Money. Today, our guest is Captain Ian Weber, captain of the Frigate for Carl Allen. Spent a lot of time at Walker's Cay. Thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Appreciate you guys having me on. Like the show. Glad to be on. See what we get into talking about.
Yeah, man. So just, before you tell us a lot of what's going on in Walker's, man, just kind of fill us in on kind of where you're from and how you kind of got into the industry.
So I'm from Stewart, Jensen Beach, Florida, right here, and grown up here my entire life on the water. Actually, the first house I lived in with my parents when I was born was right across from the commercial dock, right next to Pirates Cove Marina in Salerno. So maybe the smell of mullet really got me into it, in those early days. So lived there. We always grew up, had a boat. Both my parents fished. They started with like a 23 kind of center console, and then they worked up to a 25 Wellcraft that had a 250 at the time. And my dad bought that. And I was real young still, 4 or 5, but we'd go fishing on it. He liked sail fishing, and he actually would do the sail tournaments like in the mid 90s, late 90s on a boat called the Comfort Station, which I believe was a 52 Viking. It was definitely a Viking, but I can't remember the exact size. I was young. For a guy, Phil Comfort, and Captain Ronnie was his captain at the time. So I always remember going to the dock and seeing them coming in, with the flags, or coming in with, a bunch of stud mahis and everything. And I always told the guy, the owner, Phil, was like, hey, I want to come, and he's like, you got to be 12. And then when I was 12, now you got to be 13, and then he was like, no, you got to be 14. And finally, when I was 13, he let me join for the first sailfish tournament I got to do. And that was a Pirates Cove tournament, and we were near the bottom, but I caught one on the second day, and I'll never forget that, like being with my dad and all his buddies, and it was a good time. And then we moved into Rio, Jensen Beach.
Hold on, Ian, I gotta ask, because I feel like this happened to me, was like when the owner was saying like how you had to be a little older. Like, did that feed into you? Like, if you couldn't go along, that was like, man, I just really want to be out there, because the cool guys are out there doing something cool. I don't know what exactly it is, but I want to be a part of it. Did you feel like that?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And my dad finally gave him a hard time when he told me, 14, he's like, come on, man, you promised him, and I was like, we did plenty of fishing on our boat, but that was, the big leagues. And back then BJ was running the show, and Dave Berard, and, you looked at it in the paper when you were at school trying to check the standings after a week had already happened in the tournament,
Yeah.
But definitely fueled the fire. And then my dad eventually bought a 35 Bertram when I was 15, a 1979, and we did a bunch of work on it. And when that started, I swore I was going places at that time. I was like, we're going to kill this boat. We're going to do these tournaments, me and my buddies. And we never got to do any of the sail tournaments, but, we did a bunch of the KDWs and had fun and fishing with my dad and buddies. And then from there, I didn't have a car till I was 18, but my dad bought me a 21 C Pro when I was 15, let me ride that. And then before he sold the Wellcraft, he would let me run that around. So just, spending all summer, all day fishing. It started, snook fishing, and then we started pushing offshore a little bit for cobias and stuff and running the beach. And then on the flat days, we were trying to run out and catch mahis and sails and, push the limits of that little boat, and probably us too at the same time,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I remember getting our first kite too. It was falling in the water. I was like 15 trying to run it. We finally got it up, got one bait on it, and we catch a sail in like 5 minutes. And I'm like, oh, this is it. We're going to figure this out. And
as easy as that.
A lot longer than that. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then I figured that it was way harder than that, and tangles. And we pretty much stopped doing it for a while. Just kept to the dredge fishing and trolling,
Oh man.
But then from there, I left Florida for a year, moved to Colorado for about 8 months. Realized it was way too cold, so I ended up moving back to Stewart. I got back in April of 2010, and Buddy and his sister Daniel and Lizzie Marlowe, their dad was a captain on the Wags. Captain Buck Marlowe, great guy, crazy as all get up, but knew what he was doing. I joined with him right away, jumped on the boat, cleaning it, waxing it. And then they always did a Bahama trip. And they started off they would do 2 months, and go down to Flying Fish and Crooked and anchor out everywhere. And the owner of that was actually Mr. Walgreen. So that's how I ended up meeting Mr. A. But I've worked on that boat. We did 5 years full time, and they took me to the Bahamas for sport fishing for my first time. And a good story here is if we get over there, and back then it was like now, it was like $7 a gallon over there. So we didn't, even for Mr. W, we were trolling speed everywhere. We didn't go more than 10 knots unless we were burning some carbon, but so we were troll 8 knots, lures, some islanders, teasers and stuff and fish. But we got down just off Cat, and there's tartar and we caught some tunas and we were getting shark. We started trolling south, and here comes the first blue marlin I've ever seen. I never caught one in Florida, just a bunch of sails and stuff. But the first one comes up and he's on the center, and he's got he's going after the dorsal. You can see his tail, and he's hot and Buck on the bridge yelling. And I was standing to the side, and this other guy who was with him, I'm not going to say his name, but, he goes to drop back on it and totally wraps the tip, and the thing pounces, and Buck's telling him to let him eat it, and it just goes, bam, and there goes this fish swimming off, and I swear a beer can came flying down, and he was like, God damn it, just ripping this dude. It was a grown man, and he was tearing up. He's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm like 3 days into this trip, and I'm like, is this what's going to happen if I miss a fish?
That's what it's like fishing with the Tom Brady of sport fishing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
How old are you on that trip?
I was 19.
19.
So I was 19. We did 2 months, and I thought it was the best. It probably was some of the best days of my life. The best trip I ever had. Like I said, he hated going to marinas, so we would anchor. So we had our little loop. We'd hit the same spots, but he loved flying fish in the old Outer Edge bar there with all the girls down there, Jaime and them, and he loved that. And then the 3-stool bar up by the church, Skeeta's, with Six Finger Mark down there was his buddy. He'd been going down there since 2000. So by the time I joined, he knew everybody. So it was good times. A lot of Crooked, seeing just what I had always dreamed about, the blue water, big fish, tunas, blue marlin, pulling on some marlin. I learned an incredible amount from Buck about big fish, leader in, big knots, big hooks, big everything. But the one thing he taught me that I really try to do is he knew how to treat a boss. He was with Mr. W for over 20 years. So he just retired lately, but yeah, it was about 21 years. So good person to look up to. He knew how to treat a boss, would make amazing meals on the boat when we'd anchored out. We learned a lot, and we did that for about 5 years till Mr. W, this health started waning. And then I started to move on a little from there, and was lucky enough to get a job with BJ, who you guys have had on. And I got to run some couple tournament seasons with him, 2 seasons. And that was, I thought I knew something, and I went and rode along with him one day. And a buddy of mine, Nick Kramasco, was the mate, and he's running the Daymaker now. And there was a master class. They ran circles around me. I had no idea after that. I was like, damn, I know nothing. I got to figure this out.
Well, it's a big difference between going from a charter boat or a private boat where you're just fishing with the owner for fun and getting in a competitive environment like VJ and those guys. I mean, those guys back then, they had to figure it out. I feel like when fishing as a team first started to start, you used to be hook the fish, hand it to the boss, whatever. Now it's like everybody has to be involved, especially there at Stewart during that era. I think that was a special time when guys really learned how to start fishing as a team.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I took from it. Like you said, we were just fishing with Boss and his buddies and VJ. We were charter fishing at the time, and it was just so gung ho, because it's like, all right, we're fishing, all the sailfish tournaments, and the days in between, you're on charter. You don't even get a day between most of the time, and it was just full master class of rigging mullets, deboning mullet, learning about how good the fresh bait can be, and just watching him and all the other guys. There was a lot of guys guys doing it. That's when I think when I was there, I was kind of unlucky. They kind of caught up to VJ at that point. You know, he had his real good run. But for me, I remember, like I said, looking through the papers, reading VJ's name. So when I got a job with him, you know, that's when I was like, all right, I need to.
How was that? Like, serious. Yeah, like, because I feel like all three of us have been lucky to kind of go fishing, start fishing with some people that like we had thought of as like heroes almost, you know. Sometimes like you know who they are and you might see them around, but you don't really know them until you get on the boat. Like how was that experience? First of all, tell us what fishing with VJ is like, because I just know him as the most laid back, relaxed guy who just like kind of goes out there and whacks him without even really trying. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He makes it look easy, and he is pretty calm, but you know, if something was going down, you could like feel him staring at you, you know, you messed up, you know? So no, but he was usually pretty calm, which, you know, flows through everybody. When you got, you know, 3 or 4 in the spread and the guy's pretty calm, you know, walking everybody through, it definitely helped. But like you said, going back to when I was growing up, you know, he was whooping those tournaments, and, you know, my dad was in, and it was always like, man. And I remember when I got the job, first person I called was my dad. I'm like, Dad, you're never going to believe it, man. I got a job with VJ. I'm so pumped. We're going to fish the tournaments. We're going to win everything, you know? But, you know, the way fishing goes, it's not. We had some really good results and stuff. We got second one year in the sailfish up here, and we always were up at the top. But it really showed you, you know, team and bites and don't miss and camaraderie, and make sure even when the bite's slow, everybody's having, you know, a good time and that energy's up. And it was, you know, he's still, like you said on your guys, he's still deboning his own mullets, and he just knows. I think he could smell them, you know. He's turns left and they're over there, you know. Yeah. He is but going to learn from him, yeah, like I said, I was reading the paper about him and was so excited to do it. And he was a great guy. Still if I call him, he answers, you know, right away, gives me a fishing report. He drove by the boat the other day. But my mom's was a guidance counselor at an elementary school, and his son's a year younger than me. So I had a little bit of a rapport with him. He knew I was working on the WAGs. He knew I was working with Mr. W and Buck. And I don't know if you guys probably don't know Buck. You might have met him once, Nick, but he's a wild man. And people were like, if you could work for Buck, you can work for me, you know? So we did that.
Was he a grumpy guy too?
No, he just didn't like stupidity, you know?
Well, that's probably why my first captain was grumpy, is because he didn't like stupidity, and it was me. That was horrible. My first job. So bad.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good, but he, you know, he rubbed people the wrong way. Like I always use a joke at the Viking boatyard, you know. I tell them, you know, something's going slow, don't make me get Buck in here, you know, because they want him out of there because he's putting pressure on them to get in and out, get things done. And I tried to take that side from him too, but try to be a little nicer about it.
Yeah. I always say if the people in the boatyard like your captain out of you after you got out of there, you're probably don't have the right guy in there managing your build or whatever, not your build, but your boatyard period.
Anything. Yeah. You gotta push them along there, you know. It's definitely not one of the things, you know. I like try to be a nice guy and everything, but you know, there's sometimes, and I don't like to yell at people, but I'll call you 100 times and make sure it's getting done.
Nick knows about that.
Yeah. Some good times there with VJ. Yeah, he's still killing it, still charter fishing damn near every day. I have to drive by the marina he's at to get to our boat, and he's always out there pretty much every day, you know.
Nice.
Killer guy.
Yeah, super good dude.
But
where did it lead after that?
So then it kind of hit like a down slump for me there for a little while. I was freelancing a lot and just kind of jumping on boats. Didn't really find any like right fits, you know. That's one thing I had to learn, like, cause I've had such a good job the first one, then going to VJ, I was like, all right, you know, I know what I'm doing. I have good people, but then, you know, I meshed with them really well too, was able to learn. And then, you know, you keep going, and sometimes you don't mesh with a captain or an owner, you know, and you got to just move on and look for another. So I was doing freelancing and worked for a guy, Paul Walker. He had like a little Walker diesel mechanic shop in Stuart here. So I learned a lot about changing oil and hoses and fixing stuff and wiring and putting in pumps and all that kind of stuff, and was doing some like taking boats to the Bahamas, taking boats up north for them, getting my hands in there. And then I got a job with a guy named Ty on his boat to tie me up, and that was a 61 Hatteras, and that was really like the first boat I was the captain of. And we started doing Bahama trips, and we were together for a couple months and going back and forth to the Bahamas. And Buck had called me right before that and said, Mr. A is looking for you, keep in touch. And he had just bought the Axis at that time. He had already had the GG, and they were just fishing the CV, and he was looking about buying a 52 Express. So I told the guy, Ty, I'm going to stay with you, and I probably still would be with him. But I told him, if this guy calls me, I can't pass this job. Yeah. And ended up getting that call, and, took the job with Mr. A there on a 52 Express with no tower, no nothing. And we ended up bought it, had it in the yard for like a month and a half doing some stuff. And then it was immediately to Newport, Rhode Island.
How long ago was that? When did that start?
That was, like 2017 was that year. Yeah, we went up there and spent the summer up there, tried to catch some bluefins, but we had couple opportunities that we didn't get, but we had some good canyon fishing. I know at the dump there was some good. We did, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Cape Cod, Boston, all the way up to Bar Harbor and through Maine. Had some good fishing off Nantucket and stuff. I know the dump that was like when they were catching all the whites. I feel like we didn't have like a crazy day like that, but we had some good tuna fishing out there and mahi. Really, and I was just kind of cruising around with the Axis and the GG and the 52 there. And back then it was just me on it. And then one of the boss would either ride with me or one of his buddies, or I'd steal, one of the deckhands off one of the other boats.
So how's that like? You guys are like a fucking armada when you go places. Friggin'. Oh, God. So for people that don't know, the GG is like the like just the regular yacht, and then you have the Axis, which is one of those support vessels. So you have two giant boats, first of all, and then you got your boat, and then probably a couple other boats.
Yeah, I'm the tender, I guess, at this point,
Yeah.
but
what's the sizes on those other rigs, just for people to know?
Yeah, the GG is a 165 Westport, and then the Axis is a 185 Dahmen that carries, jet skis, a submarine, two Hell's Bay flats boats, and then we also have a little Icon plane where the wings fold up and it can actually go in the garage and they can pick that up. It's one of those like amphibious planes.
Wow, and basically a Navy.
Pretty much if he could dress up like in a suit, people would think he's James Bond rolling up in his sub or the plane. We got the original plan, was to do the Pacific and the South Pacific, and we're like, man, if you roll up in that plane at some of those islands, they're gonna think you're like God or James Bond or something crazy. They've never seen that before.
Wow, awesome.
But yeah,
Ian, how's it dealing with, I don't know. I don't know many people that are in your position where you have to deal with another boat or two in this aspect. How's it dealing with the captains and everything that go along with like a yacht operation and the sport, basically a mothership or mother-fathership operation?
Yeah. It took some getting used to, especially coming, from the WAGs. Like a lot of the time, like when we were anchored up north, and still a lot of times when we're anchored, we always try to like raft. And I'm like, man, I'd rather because they could, the Axis has an 11-foot draft, so you're not tucking in too many places. Mm-hmm. And then with the GG, and I'm like, man, I can go anchor in this real nice little bay over here, but we try to stay together. So that was kind of, at first it takes some time to get used to, but they've had low turnover with the captains, which is good. And definitely the two that are there right now, I click with, and, but yeah, it's an armada. There's a fleet captain, and then, there's 23 crew members between all the boats now. And there's just me and my mate. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of food, a lot of logistics go into it. And that was kind of, like I said,
the food bill just for the cruise.
Oh, it's crazy, but they're good. We have Taco Tuesdays like a regular when we're out at Walker's. So I mean, that's a lot of tacos. 40.
That's got to be kind of nice that it's not really your responsibility to deal with the food and everything like that.
Yeah, we try to be self-efficient. We do cook like 80% of our own meals, but if we're running quick or we're going fishing all day and the boss and some guests are coming, they'll throw us sandwiches. Or one of the chefs Mexican guy, Isaac, he loves fishing. So we always just drag him along, and he'll cook us some food and go fishing with us. And
There you go.
so that makes it a little easier. Yeah. And then, my mate, John, he's a great cook, and the boss always wants him to cook something. But I'm like, do you want him out here catching fish, or do we want him making pizzas inside, So we got to figure it out. But yeah, it's definitely cool, but it's actually being, we've been at Walker's, especially like through the pandemic year, there was really no one coming over, and we were kind of stuck on the island. There's no bar, there's no restaurant yet, but at least there was 20 other people. But at the same time, you're sick of seeing those 23 other people after 5 months.
Yeah.
But we've had some turnover and stuff like that as the yacht industry kind of rolls through like that ways. But we have a lot of good people, still a lot of friends who have come and gone or who are there, and make things easy and, do help out. The GG has the 39 CV, and it's technically their tender, but we go and mess it up and get blood all over it and fish. And majority of the time, if they know we've been out there like all day, they'll want to come and, let us clean the fish, and they'll help clean the boat and load the coolers. And so it's a good team camaraderie. And, that's kind of what you got to have when you got all that going on. And, you got to follow a hierarchy, or it's going to go to shambles and all fall apart,
Yeah, that's wild. I don't know if I could deal with that. I'd just be like, it
takes a lot,
especially traveling. I'd be like, see ya. So I guess you guys probably go straight from Walker's to freaking Nantucket if you want to.
If we wanted, yeah. So here's a good one. After we went up there to north, we came back down. We did the Caribbean in the spring, and we left like last week of February or first week of March. And we left out of Lauderdale, and my buddy John, who's my mate now, and he's been with me. It'll be 3 or 4 years in March. Great dude, and I brought him along, and he got a little seasick, and I'm like, we'll break it out of you. Don't worry, and I'm telling him all the highlights. We were going all the way to Grenada, starting in St. Thomas, St. Bart's, St. Martin, Montanique, Dominical, St. Lucia, the Grenadines. Like, we did the whole deal. And I wanted, like you said, we were on the 52, and I wanted to run through the Bahamas, stop in the DR, fish a couple days, work my way. And they're like, no, you're a small boat, you got to roll with the fleet. So we did like 15 knots for 4 days behind the axis, and a 52 Express. And the first day was gorgeous, and John's loving life. And we had just put a little towel, like Marlin watch, and he's sitting up there driving, loving life. And I'm sleeping because I know what's coming, so he's enjoying it. Thinks life's good. And about that night, it gets, 6 to 8. And it was,
are you under your own power, or you're being towed?
No, under our own power the whole way. We did our whole bottom the whole way. It's like 1,000 miles, 1,200, something like that. And it's just rough as hell. And then we always had windshield wipers with that damn boat. I hate windshield wipers on a sport fishing boat, especially low like that. It was running constant, and motor burnt out. So at night we were telling the Axis to leave all their lights on the back of the boat so we could know where we were going, because we couldn't see. Autopilot ended up breaking, so we hand steered most of the way, and it was just a nightmare trip. But once we got there, it was all right. But my mate got sick, and so he was down for like a full day. And the worst thing that happened, it was like nighttime. I'm about to take like a quick rest, and I go do an engine room check, and I go down there, and there's gear oil everywhere, like on the roof. Not a lot, but it's like shooting everywhere. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm looking, and I'm yelling at him to turn down C because it's rough as shit. And I'm like falling into the engines and burning myself. And we start going down C, and just one of the hoses started coming loose. So it was just dripping a little bit, but it was hitting the shaft. So when the shaft was throwing it everywhere, so it wasn't a big deal, but we were going down, and my mate, who wasn't feeling good, I had the other guy with us, grabbing me wrenches and stuff. And we're going down sea, and we're getting further and further from the big boats. And, this is his first big trip. So he's getting nervous. And he starts turning back because he wants to go back around. And I'm, it's rolling, and I'm banging into the engines trying to tighten up this shit. And I'm like, God damn it, go down C. As I'm burning my arm stuff. But, otherwise than that was it. But it was just rough. And we went down there, and we had a great time fishing. And we were a little early on the marlin bite, but we ended up having some really good fishing down in Grenada and the Grenadines down there. And St. Bart's actually on the way back was really good too. We ended up catching one real big one, 7, 8, could have been bigger, but it was definitely, I told him we were going to catch the biggest fish of his life, and we went down there and did that. So that felt pretty good, and Mr. Allen's seen a lot of cool stuff and a lot of big fish.
What's Grenada like?
Not, it's just an island, but it it was actually a little more like put together than I thought, like the marinas and everything. And, you know, we didn't travel too much. We only spent a couple days there. But actually, I knew nothing about going down there, you know, so I was trying to do like some research, and I found, you know, Ricky Wheeler. I don't know if you know, he's up by you. I had never met him, but I'd seen him on Instagram and read some stuff, and I was like, I'll just reach out to him. So I reached out, and he was nice enough dude to, you know, give me a bunch of tips kind of on what to do, just, you know, basic stuff, you know. And I was like, you know, if you ever come to Walker's, you know, let me know, blah, blah, blah. And he actually fished the tournament this year. So I actually got to finally meet him and thank him for, you know, putting me in the right area at least. But it was good. The sail fishing was good. A lot of yellowfins. You know, it wasn't too far. The people were nice. And like I said, it was actually the marina and the way that it was put together wasn't, you know, as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was actually real nice.
Sail fishing in Grenada?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, those things are everywhere.
Yeah.
They have like they have like a weird place where you can catch like sails and like a weird bank where you can catch like sails and giant yellowfins like next to each other, right? Like this is the same area.
Yeah. And I mean, we wanted to, but it was seemed a little sketchy. You know, you're right there, pretty close to Venezuela. So you can go, you know, the Laguerre Bank or whatever it's called right there. We talked about it, but just a little too sketchy for our big armada to be rolling down there. You know, they'll be thinking they're getting attacked, you know? So, yeah, but no, yeah, we just behind, you know, we found some temperature breaks and we were able to catch some sails and some tunas. And, you know, that's exactly what he said would happen. And, you know, they got blues and stuff down there, but when we were down there, yeah, it was good. It's totally different than what I was used to in the Bahamas and Florida, deep water, trying to find some fads, you know, and lucky enough to make some friends down there who kind of pointed us to some fads that were, you know, not charted or talked about. And that's where we ended up catching some of our best days there for sure. You know, some little local knowledge helps. Asking some guys, buying some beers for some local dudes, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. Are any other sport fishes down there? Probably not.
There was one in St. Lucia we saw, and then there was a couple in Grenada, but we didn't see any while we were fishing. Pretty much every day. A lot of pangas, you know, kind of like the DR. Yeah. But yeah, that day we caught the big one. We were due east, like towards Barbados, at like 25 miles, and it was rolling. We thought it was rough as shit in the 52. And there's a single dude in like a 20-foot panga watching us with that big marlin, telling us to kill it. You know, he wanted it. You know, he was going to be the man that night. But yeah, I wanted to kill it, but Mr. A at the end was like, we're not bringing that buck thing in here. And I was like, all right, probably a good idea. What are we going to do with it anyways? But, you know, that
I just seen a report the other day of like on Billfish report. Somebody caught like 29 blues in 7 days or something off of St. Lucia. I guess there's some fads there or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of fads in the back. We didn't have very much luck in the back, but if you can get around to the east side and like the north and south tip, it was rolling when we were down there. But yeah, there's fads, you know, some that are, you know, marked on the charts, and then some you just got to talk to people. Yeah, but it's a lot of fad fishing pretty much, and then a few points, you know, off the island.
Similar style fads, the DR.
A little more. There's a few, but they're actually a little more well put together. Kind of, they're put out by the government. A lot of those islands put out, you know, more bigger ones, kind of like I would think the ones in Costa are. So that was pretty cool. That trip was a great time. You know, we really didn't get to stop in the DR and fish too much. Mr. A had been there, so he kind of wanted to keep moving. So I got to miss out on that. But driving through there was like, you know, driving a race course through all the fads.
Yeah. Well, there's not that many anymore, but we're still there.
Yeah. They'll get them out there, you know, which is good. But yeah, and when we did that trip, and then, you know, we got our asses kicked in that 52, and Mr. A was like, you know, what do you think about getting a bigger boat? And I was like, all for it, sir. And we started talking. We decided a 68 and a Seakeeper would go a long way for us. So we ended up, you know, pretty much trading that 52 for, you know, paying a little cash for that 68 we had. And yeah, on that first frigate, we ended up, you know, for insurance and everything, had to let them know, but we ended up doing over 10,000 miles on it in like 2.5 years.
On the 52 footer?
Yeah, on the being traveled with everything and all the fishing trips and everything. It was like just shy of that. So it was pretty impressive going up and down and left and right and all over. But it was pretty cool. And then we went to the 68, and That boat, we went through some hours on that thing too, mostly on the generators, because that boat really didn't leave the Bahamas or Florida. We just kind of stayed there. And that was when the marina was built and COVID hit. So we hunkered down for 5 months over at Walker's with no power, no water, running water makers in the marina, running our generators, flowing through oil like it was going out of style, changing everything. We ended up putting, just crazy amount of hours on those generators in 2 years too, but it ran good. The Seakeeper too, one of the guys was like, man, you guys got 6,000 hours on the Seakeeper, because we would run it at the dive site when we're doing our, diving for artifacts or anything, because it works good on anchor too, So a couple years of running that thing, it's great on anchor. So we like that.
You got 6,000 hours on it without any real issues? Like you didn't have to pull it out of the boat?
Never had to pull it out of the boat. Had a couple of the pins, the little C-clip kind of rust out and a pin come out was really our worst thing. On this boat, we got to replace a ram on it, but that's really the worst. But we run that thing, like I said, like nonstop. Like there was like times we were at the dive site like 2 weeks straight.
Wow.
Yeah. But
maybe that's the secret to keeping them working. Just never turn them off.
Yeah, and I've heard horror stories about them, and I just keep knocking on wood. Like I'll just keep running mine, even at the dock. I guess just leave it on. I had many issues with.
What kind of generators do you have that get all those hours? The Onans, the big Onans?
But yeah, we have the Onans, the 29 kWs, and then, we've had to switch the heat exchangers, and, the guys at Shearwater really take care of us here, Terry. So we keep it going. A lot of oil. I try to, keep that, knowing when I'm running all that stuff, you got to keep it. But, we do break stuff on the regular. So
I mean, it's a boat. That's what it's there for.
A boat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, that was good. We had that boat.
That wasn't the boat. The Frigate now is not. That's smaller than 68. No.
We're an 80 now. We just got
80.
an 80. Yeah, so now we're the old Lisa G with the orange stripe, gray hull, orange stripe, and closed bridge. So yeah, we stick out. It was funny. We looked at it, bought the boat, and we were immediately going to change the orange stripe, and we had to use it before we went to the yard. So we did like 2 months, and after looking at it, we're all like, it actually looks pretty good. We actually like it. So we moved that way, and it's grown on us, that's for sure. But yeah, we got
the 68 was a cool looking boat.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the boat I saw you on, right? The 68.
Yeah, it was the 68. Yeah. I love that, but that was the boat. I mean, even he thought he was gonna stay with that one forever. Kind of how the Wags was, run it up, and it was a great boat. I really didn't even want to sell it, but the GG had got struck by lightning last year, or around this time, like September, August. And we were everybody was on the 68, him, his wife, a chef, a stew, me, my mate, and it got small pretty quick. So that's why we go ahead and upgraded to the 80. And, I hope we don't go too much bigger than this. He threatens me with the 92, but I don't think he's serious.
Gotcha.
He's serious.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah.
How do you like the enclosed bridge versus the open bridge?
For fishing wise, I live in the tower now. I can't do it from there. I got to have like pull tabs for my teaser reels, and I got to get new ones with remotes and stuff. I definitely like fishing on the other boat better, but for riding, you can't beat it. We go back and forth. It's 100 miles from Walker's to Stewart, and we do it all the time. So rain or wind or whatever. AC is pretty nice up there,
Yeah.
So, but for that, it's kind of still, like I said, I've just gotten used to docking it at the little aft station there. For some reason, Viking put driving station on the starboard side and the fuel fills on the port side. So, so yeah, a lot of tower driving, but I like being up there. It's a big tower too, so.
Do you have a lot? Because I've always wondered, like, guys that have that, because now you got to have, you got to have a GPS. You probably don't need to use your radar while maybe you do in the Bahamas. Like, so I fish on the Cason 64. I have to have 4 screens up. I mean, do you have 4 screens up there?
No, and that's kind of the disadvantage. So like you said, there's no radar. We don't have a sonar yet. We're still working on getting into one of those. So pretty much I got a single Garmin with, a half a map and mostly my, bottom machine. And usually like if I'm like the radar, I'll either have to run down every once in a while and go check it. But yeah, if we're running birds, but usually if we're running birds, I'll be inside until I find the birds, find the birds, fish the tunas, and then when they kind of move off, I'll go back downstairs and see if I see something. But we moved to that, and I definitely, for our team, me being able to sit up there, and we moved to the headsets, kind of like everybody since this boat. We did it without it because I like to yell at everybody down there, but now a little too much, from the tower. So we did that, and it's worked well for us, so we've kind of, our little team, it's easy to have one voice in the ear and everybody kind of knowing where the fish is, what needs to be done, and it's definitely helped us.
You have the command to talk, or everyone could talk?
Everybody could talk. Yeah, everybody could talk. But when I'm talking, shut up. Yeah, no, but I like to, especially with the dead bait, and when they come up, I'll be like, all right, he's going to eat. I want to be like, all right, he picked me up. So then I can kind of start focusing my attention somewhere, and I know if they blow it, it's their fault from that point.
I feel like my console, I hope we never get an enclosed bridge. My boss he always sends me pictures of an enclosed bridge for some reason. But my dashboard would be super obnoxious. Like, it would be enormous. I would have to have it custom made to fit everything that I want, because it'd be cool to, you mark a fish on the sonar, and sometimes it goes right down the side of the boat. And if you were up in the tower, you could literally probably see it go by the side.
Yeah,
I think that would be the best for dead baiting.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to have the teaser reels in the roof of the hard top as well, and the buggy.
Yeah,
top.
that's kind of been my issue. We have the older style, so there's no remote, and I'm fishing up there. So before I would have pull tabs and pull it, and then tell someone to run up there and suck all the line in as we were backing down or whatever. And then I just, for the Walkers tournament, I was over, having people build it. So I have 2 old 80s, and I'm putting some Allen wrench, rod holders on the ladder, and I'm hand cranking them, in there when I could. But, so I'm excited to move that. That was one. And then one of the issues with us getting the sonar is getting something up there. So the Furuno one would be hard to get up there. So we've been looking, at a couple others, like the Simrads and Ethernet cable. So you could run it up and have a little stand with some suction cups, or, a little mount up there where you could take.
Oh yeah, they get the control up there, huh?
Yeah, and then you'd have to get the remote for the control, and so it's kind of a pain in the ass. So that's why we've been trying to research to see which one's kind of going to be the best, because that's like you said, that's kind of there ain't much room up there for more stuff unless you kind of.
There's a couple. I mean,
put it on top.
I'm sure the boats that have it were probably built with it, but there are a few boats that do have it up there.
Yeah. Like I said, if they plan, you could probably move some stuff out of the way and put, a small screen, but that's kind of the issue I keep running into. And, if you guys know anybody or suggestions, I'm all for them. This.
Have you heard much about the Simrad sonar? Because I hear people talking about it, and people ask me, and I'm like, I don't know. Is it I've never, honestly, I've looked at 2 other sonars, Furuno sonars other than mine, so I don't really know.
I've actually I've just had to talk to VJ about his, and he's got the Furuno as well. And I've never talked to anybody with the Simrad. The guys at AME sent me brochures, and I kind of tried to read up on it, but I'm still kind of trying to find somebody and talk to those guys. I wanted to check it out at the boat show, but kind of ran out of time there. I don't like spending too much time down there. I know, Nick, you were there. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, I don't really know anything about that Simrad either. I mean, as much fishing as you guys probably do, I don't know if that's something you want to risk.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. I'm like, I don't know. The Furuno seems to work just fine for me. I can't imagine something working that much better. There even might be something better, but after 4 years of looking at the Furuno one, I'm like, how much better could it possibly be? I do know that if you're fishing amongst other boats, it has a variable. I don't know if that's a variable frequency or it just has a couple different options, but I guess it would be a little bit easier to fish in a fleet, so you're not getting them pinged off of each other.
I think it might work better in shallower water too.
Yeah, that's what maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've yet to find somebody who can get it to work like sail fishing, like in shallow water, whether it be dead baiting or live baiting. Like I felt at 220 feet, I marked a couple wahoos once, and I felt like I could get them to bite, but I was going to catch them anyways because I didn't have to turn to go get them, offshore you can literally see something and make a turn and go. When you're zoomed in 600 feet, you don't have enough time to do anything about it.
Yeah, I got you. And I know a lot of the guys who are still winning the tournaments around here in Stewart deadbaiting. I know Josh Cheney won a couple last year, and he doesn't have one. So
yeah,
like you said,
I think it could be effective there, but you're not going to use it. It's not going to be as effective as out there in 1,000 fathoms in clear blue water where you can just oh look, there's a marlin.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
If anybody knows anything about the Simrad, please, I don't know. We're not going to change, me and Nick. I know that. So
Let me know.
yeah. Let Ian know.
Yeah, I need some help with it. But yeah, we'll see. So now we're excited about it. Yeah, and just normal stuff there. We're planning on doing a couple sail tournaments this year. So real excited about that.
Do you guys have any plans to take the fleet anywhere crazy like the Pacific or anything like that? That's wild to say.
Yeah, it's out there because of what we're doing in the Bahamas with walkers and kind of the lower development that's kind of happened. I think we'll be there for a little while, but their dream trip is definitely to take it to the Pacific and do all Central America and go actually up to Alaska. They've been up there a few times and they want to take their own boat and do that, which I would be all for. And it'd be good to have the enclosed bridge up there so you could stay warm at least, But
be like a spaceship over there.
Yeah, you'd be killing it, But yeah, we want to do that. I've been pushing him to try to do that. We want to go to do the Back Bay thing. Like, we could even do the seamounts off Costa and sit out there for a week. With the Axis, just kind of float around and tell them to throw some food and stuff every once in a while. We'll be all right.
You can go to the Galapagos if they let you in.
Yeah, we want to do that. That's a dream. They've had kind of some issues with the government and the submarine. Everybody's a little skeptical about the submarine. Do
you have to claim the submarine, or can you just not tell? Like, you put it in the garage in the back behind the plane?
You could. It's pretty big, so it'd be hard to hide. But
I wonder why it bothers countries like that.
They think you're doing something sketchy. Like you're looking at something that they don't know is there, or that's they think.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought is they're probably something under the water that they don't want you to see or something.
I mean, if the Allen fleet shows up in some random spot, there's a half a chance that there might be some treasure there. So maybe they should let you do it.
Yeah, I mean, that we're pretty good at it. And there's definitely been some people who are there's something here. There's something here. You hear people call me. I'm like, I have no influence on this. Don't call me. I don't know anything.
Who's the submarine cap?
It was this guy, Les Annan, but he's no longer a part of the fleet. So right now they do have to charter out a pilot from the company's Triton, and they're right there out of Vero Beach.
Whoa. So you can't just like you need a special person to drive the submarine. Not you just can't be I'm driving the submarine today.
No, it's actually easy to drive. It's like a joystick and thrusters. It doesn't go very fast, but all the safeties of it are what make it so hard, and it goes 1,000 meters.
Wow.
Down?
Yeah, down. Yeah. Jesus. It goes 1,000 meters. Yeah. I've personally been 800 feet down the wall in the Bahamas. I've been in it a few times. That's the deepest I got to go.
What the fuck's going on down there?
Not much, to tell you the truth. The better dives are in 300-400 feet. Once you get real deep, there really isn't much. And
it's
when
dark.
you get past 300 feet, it's dark. We've tried to look at some of our deep drop spots, but you got all these lights and everything hit it. I think most things are trying to run from you. But you do see some sharks and some other cool stuff, but like I said, the 300-400 feet you see a lot of cool stuff doing that.
Man,
big groupers.
I would love to know, we have the corners of these canyons, the Washington and the Wilmington Canyon up here, they can get crazy good fishing in this super specific spot. And I would just love to be down there in a submarine, 300 feet down, to be why the hell everything? Because there can be nothing going on for miles and miles and miles. And this spot, a square mile, is wide open. Every tuna in the goddamn ocean can be there some days. And it's what is making this happen? And I would just love to drive around a submarine. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we've been in the pocket of chub with it, and they've ran into squid layers and stuff. So
interesting.
All those are kind of piling in there, and they've seen some spots real heavy with plankton too, where you can see it, where it almost looks like snow. So maybe something like that, or like you said, it'd be interesting, but it doesn't move very fast. So if you're out in open water, you're just kind of drifting along, but
bobbing along.
Yeah. It's cool though. It's pretty cool to go see the reefs and be down. Every time you go in, you've pretty much seen something that no other human's seen.
Wow.
You say you see some big groupers at 300?
Yeah. Right off the corner, Nick. Yeah. Yeah, but there's off walkers. Yeah, we've some of the best dives, like I said, have been 200-300, some big groupers, and they're kind of more curious. they'll kind of come out and take a look at you at least and see. And sharks are too. They'll get pretty close and then take off. I know last time they were out in Elf Walker, they had a school of amberjacks like circling them, like 50, 60 amberjacks. So pretty cool. In the Bahamas, it's nice because that water is real clear, so it's definitely a cool thing.
No Krakens?
I haven't seen any Krakens, but one of the guys who is one of the sub-drivers is actually one of 3 people to see a living giant squid underwater. They were in another one in the Pacific. So something like that. Not a Kraken, but a giant squid.
How big was that? Wonder how big that was.
I'd have to say, I don't know exactly, but 6, 8 feet, something like that.
Wow, that would scare the shit out of me.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I think would attack the boat or the submarine.
Yeah.
Sub down.
It's got a little hand on it and stuff, so you can pick stuff up. Might be able to get away with it. I think they build a harpoon for it, but we don't have it.
Harpoon, damn. That's one way to spearfish.
Yeah, just don't spear one too big,
No.
So tell us, I know this is a fishing podcast, but you guys are fucking treasure hunters. So
yeah,
we want to hear a little bit about that. Like I don't get to talk to a real live treasure hunter every day.
Well, I just play one on TV, there's obviously we found, an old wooden ship, that Mr. Allen's been looking for, and I've been lucky, like you talked about. I've been lucky to be here since he bought Walkers and started talking about this and the day one of what it looked like at the beginning and what it's turned into. And it's a serious operation. We have 4 blow boats. If you've seen like Into the Blue or any of those movies, the cams that go over the props and direct the prop wash down. Yeah, and it's all in sand. None of it's near reef, so it's all just a lot of sand. And pretty much what they do is they blow a hole, and it looks like a crater in the sand. And everybody's scuba diving. It's a Bahamian-led team. All the treasure guys who find all the artifacts are all trained with, and we are also with the BDF. We have BDF guys out there and our own security and stuff to make sure all the, everybody's diving correctly and being safe. But we've got to do that. We found a lot of cool stuff. The Allens just opened a Bahama Maritime Museum in Lakaya, and they've been having a lot of tours with the kids and everything. And the government is, in on it. They get, at least half. And it's really cool to be a part of the history and learning about the ship and everything. But we've got to find some really cool things. There's a large gold chain that I've actually got to wear, feel like iced tea or something when you wear that thing. But it's all the artifacts, are like 350 years old. I personally got to pick up like 75 silver coins off the bottom that are now, been preserved and in the museum. There's been incredible earrings and pieces of gold and, just jewelry, a lot of emeralds, which are uncut from, the Miso mine in Colombia there. So you're picking up a lot of this. There's some cannons, cannonballs, a couple swords have been found, and it's just real cool. When I got into this, one of Mr. A's rules, everybody's got to be certified diver, and everybody gets a shot to dive a hole and everything, led by, of course, the Bahamians and, showing the way. But it's interesting. It's crazy to be a part of, to think, going back, I'm a kid from Stewart, and growing up surfing and watching all these guys pick up the 1715 fleet, is all right here on the Treasure Coast and hearing about it. And, a couple of our buddies' dads have like coins they've found and everything like that around here. So I think everybody who's into fishing or boating really is into probably pirates, a little bit of finding treasure and that kind of thing. It definitely intrigues the mind. And
how do you guys come up, or I don't even know if you know this, but like, how do they come by the information to find these places? I mean, a lot of reading and talking to people, I guess. Same way we find a fish, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of connections, and a lot like fishing. This guy, I compare it to like deep dropping. The guy will give you a couple numbers, another guy gives you numbers. One guy numbers are shit, and the other guys are right on. So there's a lot of that going on. But there's a guy who originally found it named Bob Mark, and he did a lot of research. And Mr. A did some research on him and found the ship as well, and then was able to become friends with Bob and talk to him, and he kind of put him on the area. And then we did a lot of magnetometer searches, which is just looks like a torpedo that's a giant metal detector. And you drag it, you pretty much troll it where you want to do in a pattern, and it'll pick up wavelengths of metals, non-ferrous metals mostly, so it doesn't pick up like gold or silver, but you'll pick up like steel cannon or a lot of lobster condos you find out there when you're doing that. So the majority of the stuff you're diving when we were originally looking, you're looking at all these and you're diving, and it's lobster condo, lobster condo, lobster condo. Oh, there's a spike. And, where we are and over the whole Bahamas, there's wrecks on top of wrecks on top of wrecks. So think about when you're coming up from, you're coming up the Gulf Stream, you go through past the Keys, Florida Straits, past Miami, and you get up. Stewart kind of sticks out a little, just like Canaveral does. And once you get on Cape Canaveral, they would hang a right, and your next stop would be Spain. You avoid the Little Bahama Bank there, go north of Walker's, nothing to hit then. But what they do, they would wait till Canaveral, and they'd see Canaveral that sticks out, and they knew that was their spot. And they were traveling one night, and they turned at Stewart. It was actually in January. It wasn't a hurricane. It was in January. And it was a big northeaster, and they ended up turning too early. And if you turn too early off Stewart, you're going to end up on the Bahama Bank somewhere. And what they ended up doing was, it was a whole armada, and the one ship that we have found was not supposed to be in the lead. It was the second ship, and the first ship realized they were going to run aground. They got the guy on the bow with like a deep drop weight in the line, knowing what the depth is, and all of a sudden that hits, and he started yelling. So they blew the horn, and they took a hard turn to port, and they smashed into the ship that we've found, and half of it sank there, and a little bit of the other stern castle floated off a little bit. But so there's a lot of ships that are all just kind of piled up in that area. I know if you've been up there, Nick, fishing the corner and stuff, it goes, it's some real treacherous reef up there, so pretty cool to see that, and those boats were drawing like 20, 25 feet. So you get anywhere near the bank over there, they're running aground.
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of, the Treasure Coast of 1715 was the same way, but that was, I believe that was a hurricane, and they ended up washing up, between Stewart to like Sebastian, Melbourne kind of area, mostly off like Fort Pierce, Sebastian.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Pretty wild stuff, dude. That's,
yeah.
That seems like you're pretty steadily busy all the time on your rig.
Yeah. We're pretty much, March through, we just got back last Sunday, so middle October, and that was it. But we're pretty much over there the whole time, trying to get our best, weather windows to do that, fishing. They're trying to take care of the island and make sure that's up and running here soon, and we can have some villas up, hopefully by, spring next year. And tuna bite's unreal, and I'm really hoping for a good sailfish season this winter. It's actually, we've already had a cold front, so last year I don't think we had a cold front till January. So yeah. I'm hoping on some positive fishing this year, and we got our boat going to the yard, the Viking there. Try to get it out by Thanksgiving, and then we plan on doing the Pirates, might do the light tackle tournament, and then maybe the Pelican as well, and then see where things go from there, and then back to Walkers for the spring, and looking forward to that. That's always my favorite time to be there. The mutton bite's really good, the yellowfin bite's good, and then the blues roll in, and usually it's pretty calm and nice and fish everywhere, and just looking forward to that.
What did Mr. Allen did mention about something about fads when we had him on, and I don't know if there'd been any movement about that.
I don't know.
I don't know if you want to talk about.
That's more secret than the treasure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's all got to be approved to do. But yeah, we've been in talks to do it, and hopefully set some up, and hopefully get, Bahamian government to back us on it, and make sure they're all cool with it. I think it's something the Bahamas should really look into, not only up by us, but all over. I mean, I know it gets good in the Abacos, but if you put a couple more fads out there, well, I mean, when me and Nick were there, the fishing was unreal, but I think you could hold those fish a little longer than they do right now over there, and might even bring some more people, even though it's usually pretty crowded over there in March, which is good. They need it, so
cool.
We'll see.
Well, I hope it works out, man. Walkers for, most sport fish operations is not a difficult place to get to, so I think having stuff there would be awesome, because it's an overlooked, I think that area is kind of overlooked way out to the west there compared to the Abacos,
Yeah, oh, definitely. And most days for trolling, I don't see another boat.
Yeah.
Because, most people who are coming over, especially if it's been rough for a few days, I'll see some center consoles off Walkers and sport fish here and there. But, most people don't go past the corner really, and then everybody's either in the Abacos. So it's almost nice talking to somebody on the radio, especially when you're having a slow day. No one else out there, helping out. But it's good. You do get some good people over there like Billy Black, he's a real legend. And all the Stewart guys are always running over there. So you do get to hear some guys on the radio, and the fishing does get real good, but it can be a big playing field too, especially when there's not many boats around.
How's my boy Flip Pallet?
Flip, he's doing good. We haven't seen him in a while, but
is he really your boy? Are you really boys with Flip Pallet?
No, I wish I was.
I was about to say, it's like, you know everybody.
He's Tom Brady, man.
And that's Bill Belichick.
Yeah, there you go. No, but that guy is true legend.
Yeah.
You come over, and I know Mr. A told the story about him teaching us how to fly fish and for blues and stuff. And of course, he comes in like totally late season, and of course, we pull one up, and he got a shot out of it. We didn't get it, but just the way he, I've never seen somebody work a teaser so smooth and so just flawlessly. He had that thing so fired up, and it wasn't quick, it was just barely pulling it away from him. Thing was getting madder and madder, but he wants to come back out and do another little show with us. So I'm hoping he's going to come out, and we could really put in a couple days to do it. But, he's just one of those people, another person you look up to. Everybody grew up.
Yeah, like
Chronicles, And so I meet him the first time he comes to Walker's, and he drove his flats boat across. And so he rests, and the next day we go flats fishing, and they have a flats boat. Me and Mr. A are on ours, and they had 2 boats, camera guys, and me and Mr. A watched for a little bit, and then went and did our own thing. We meet him back at the GG later. This is before Walker's was developed, so we were all anchored in Wells Bay, which is like the west side of Grand there in the little bay. And I see him, and he's sitting down having the Frigate rum, and I'm like, hey, Flip, man, how was it? And he's like leaned back, super chill. And he's like, well, it was nothing short of immaculate. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Like you guys must have just slayed him, And he's like, oh, we caught like 2 bonefish. But the way he just pronounces and talks. And I was just like I said, I was like, oh my God, what happened? But he was just so stoked to be there, and is a really nice guy, answers any questions. And he's a cool dude, and I'm hoping to see him out there here soon again.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. Definitely another one of those moments where you're like, I can't believe I'm sitting next to Flip Pallet right now.
Yeah.
Well, if you see him soon, tell him we'll get him on the pod.
Oh my God. I don't know if
I'll start crying.
I'll just be like, I don't know.
Yeah. He got to tell us some stories which would fit right in with this podcast. I'll keep them brief so I don't spoil them. But he pretty much went down back in the day, Costa Rica, with the government approval on a panga, and broke every Pacific fly fishing sale record at one time. He had them all. They started, at 20-pound test and went all the way down till they couldn't. And I'm sure a lot of those have been broken now, but yeah, he went down there and did that, and that'd be a cool one definitely to have him on and tell you those stories. Nobody talks like him either,
Yeah, he's a way about him. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So looking forward to that, Nick. I'm sure you're down in the DR still?
No, we just got back just before the boat show, so
okay.
Just got back and start get this front runner boat ready and start catching some sailfish, hopefully.
Yeah. We're looking forward to it. Yeah, we got our CV here with us for the first time this winter, so we're looking to try to practice a little more in our kite fishing there, and trying to learn the ways of it. Growing up in Stewart, all we did was dead baits, and now past couple of years we've been pushing more and more into trying to do the kite fishing. And like you said, it ain't easy. There's a lot of lines going on, and especially when you're fishing on the sport fish or the 80, you got to try to keep everything behind you, and definitely with the team aspect, we fished the Gold Cup the first year we got to 68 and didn't get our ass kicked, but we were pretty much almost dead last. And but I saw all the fish we could have competed, and we just I think we caught like one a day or something, or one every the last 2 days, and it was just pathetic, and I was so angry, and like just like you said, you got to get the team. And now we did a little better the next year, and then last year we had a good 5th and a good showing in some of those tournaments, and it was like, all right, we're clicking now. Like we've had the same team a little bit, and it definitely especially with the multiples and stuff, you definitely need everybody to know what they're doing without me having to tell you. I'll confirm it, but
yeah.
Well, yeah, usually you're the one though that as even when you have guys that are dialed in, that you could see that fish jumping over the other fish that they typically don't see it,
Yeah.
It's like, you're fucking, Chris, you're over, fucking John, you're under, and if you go the wrong way and it's over.
It's over. Yeah, exactly. So no, I've grown up doing that dredge fishing and I love it, but it's definitely been a good challenge for us the past couple years switching over and doing it. And it's damn effective. There ain't no doubt about it. If you can get your setup right, it is damn good. So, we did that. They did a Stewart Sailfish tournament. We had a really good time in this summer. We were home for a few days and kept catching 5 out of 7. Summer bites is almost better in the winter these days up here in Stewart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best fishing the whole year.
Yeah, it was crazy. I know we came home just like a few days and I was like, we got to get out there. And we, did that tournament. It was like 8-2. Yeah, went like 5 for 7 and still there was people catching, 9 and 10. So, yeah, it was a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. It's nice to, I'm home a little while here now in Stewart here. So we're home through December. Might have a quick trip over there. And then, never know. But I know we usually get off Christmas and New Year's. And they're real good about that. And, they're a good family to work for. Their kids are all into it. Their daughter way into fishing. She wrote the Walker's book. So it's just a great family. And, I've definitely been lucky to kind of stay within the same family as Mr. A and Mr. Walgreens were as a stepfather, and been lucky enough for them to treat me like family, and they're great people to work for, and I've gotten a little lucky along the way, but that's what it takes, and some hard work. Just make sure you're still having a good time and enjoy it. That's why you want to go fishing every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Cool, Ian. We appreciate it, man. That was fun.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, and hopefully get to see you guys soon, or see you, Nick, somewhere along the way. We might dabble in one of them tournaments. Don't beat us up too bad, but we'll be out there.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll see you somewhere.
Yeah, it's fun. I love doing the tournament deal. Wish we did it a little more, but we have a blast with what we're doing. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else between finding the artifacts and walkers, and it's definitely not what I imagined for myself as a kid. Growing up in Stewart, I knew I always wanted to do it, but a little luck and good people help along the way is what it takes. And putting in hard work, and when you get that shot, just you got to go for it and take it and put your head down and try your best, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man. Well, thanks again. We'll appreciate it. We'll be in touch for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. State of Sport Fishing Podcast. Nick Carullo, Anthony Pino, Hooked Optics, Billfish Gear.